you mentioned at the start, it's more a when than an if when it comes to cyber attacks. People are almost resigned to the fact that there could be an attack or there will be an attack. What kind of threats are we talking about?
The threats and disruption that you'll experience varies massively across the different sectors, different industries, but underpinning all of that is there are people wanting to disrupt a business delivering its services, whether that's malicious or whether it's just people wanting to cause disruption in general. The different threats and the vectors which are used vary depending on where they're coming from. So the basis for protecting yourself is to make sure you can still deliver as efficiently as possible from the company to your customers, whilst also enhancing business processes and efficiency internally. So it's a fair balance of matching what you want to get out of your business and your profit margin, whilst also sustaining a customer base.
I think that's shifted, hasn't it, Brian, over the last couple of years? I mean, certainly if you look at our survey now, we're saying nearly 50%, half of the CEOs around the world believe it will happen to them. And that's a big shift, I think, from, say, 2-3 years ago, where it was a case of more around your defence and your networks as opposed to the business continuity aspects. Is that fair, Brian, do you think?
I totally agree with that. The businesses know that something is going to happen and it will happen. It's not knowing how and which method it's going to occur. It could be a massive attack, it could be a continued, it could be something that's already within the system that they haven't found yet. The threats out there are multiple and varied, and not everybody has the right systems in their own organisation to detect or defend against those systems yet, because they're not truly known in the public domain.
I think for us, Appleby having been the target of a criminal cyber attack, it obviously is something that could happen to any business, but it did happen to us. We have invested heavily in our security systems, and we will continue to do so to reassure clients. And really, I think offshore we are going to be the subject of attacks. The information that law firms, accountancy firms, fiduciary businesses hold is of interest to people that are criminal hackers. One of the things that we did after the hack is we took legal action against the BBC and The Guardian, and we have settled our claim against them. But really that was about trying to find out what information had been taken from our clients. So I can't really say any more than that, but certainly as a business that has gone through a cyber attack, it is incredibly disruptive. It's incredibly disruptive to us internally, but also to our clients. But also I think, in the Isle of Man, we were supported by the local business community, and our clients stood by us. And I think that was really quite humbling as a business. I think that you hope that when you go through a difficult period, that people will stand by you. But certainly that's something that we found, and we're very grateful for everybody for that and taking that stance.
Yeah, only adding on this, I think we have seen at the end of May the introduction of the European data protection regulation, which obviously has been a huge project for everyone. And I'm sure all of us have received hundreds of emails asking about consent on data, right? Which I think I used to not consent on it because I think it was good to reset my own inbox, right, with emails. I took the liberty to just start freshly again. But other than that, I think customer data is I think it's one of the highest goods, right? If you think about an asset that most of our firms have is the interaction with our customers, and I think we owe them the best security possible in the ways we do, and I think that's a constant endeavor for us, and at Zurich it's a very big topic, being protecting our consumer data and making sure we only use it for what the customer wants. I think that's the biggest good that we have, and it's probably one of the biggest assets, and I think we are determined to protect this. I think last but not least, I wanted to say, I think while 50% or so expect it's going to happen, I would argue that out of those 50, many don't know it has already happened. And I think probably the magnitude of the problem is much bigger. And obviously you mentioned your case, which I think is an interesting one. Zurich offers insurance for cyber risks, yeah, but I think sometimes it's difficult to price it because there's lots of forces out there that you can't control, and in one big force out there is obviously governments that participate in for different reasons, which may be very good reasons, right? To decide to get more data than they have today, and that's very difficult to manage. Yeah.
I mean, the only thing I'd like to add on that is consumers have a choice, and they pick a supplier based on that supplier's reputation and the trust they can have with it. One significant cyber breach, then that customer will go to another supplier, and maintaining the trust between yourself and the customer is critical for sustained business, and having appropriate cybersecurity plans and recovery plans and making sure your systems are patched and everything else is critical to sustaining that trust. Trust is easily lost.
With the cyber threat that is constantly evolving, how do you keep pace with that? I mean, it must be a very, very costly business.
Yeah, I mean, certainly from having seen a number of the accounts around the island in my role as at KPMG, certainly I think cyber expenses and IT expenses used to be a relatively small part of any budget. They're now a very significant part of a budget, and in fact cyber defence and those sorts of related costs tend to have their own line item these days, which just goes to show the boards are tracking how much they spend on this. And you know, I hear what Brian's saying around trust, and obviously Appleby had a great experience and they did appreciate what was going on, but you're right, trust can be lost quite quickly. So I think Peter's right as well. You know, many of them, the things may have happened that they don't even know about yet, but the reality is there's no excuse for not spending money and trying to defend as best you can.
Yeah, Zurich obviously is at the top management agenda, cybersecurity and protecting, and being part of a multinational organization. I think we benefit of that scale effect. So we can we follow similar security standards. We have obviously group security that provides a lot of that infrastructure and standards to help and protect us. And I think that's a benefit of being large. But I think being large obviously means it's probably a bigger target also to go after. But I think that's what we try to create, a very strong and very advanced security awareness. I think it starts with awareness. So we spend a lot of time training, all of us, because I think many times breaches happen inadvertently, and because people trying to find data are very smart, and they will find different ways to do so. So it starts a lot with awareness and training, and then obviously with the necessary investments into IT infrastructure and security.